Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, Anthropic is holding back an AI model that autonomously hacks major operating systems, a WICG API is literally shattering web design, and we examine why a $10 million onion business might be the smartest play in this crazy economy.
Yeah, it is a seriously packed wire today.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive into the raw news wire. I'm sitting in the anchor seat, ready to drive us through the high-stakes signals flashing across the tech and culture landscape today. We've got a massive stack of sources to get through, and my mission is to extract the absolute biggest developments that you need to be aware of.
Right, and I am here to be the cynical, analytical lens for our discussion because, it is remarkably easy to get swept up in the viral hype on the wire, so my job is to question the consensus, look at the underlying data, and figure out the second-order effects.
Exactly.
Because the real story is rarely just what's on the surface. It's about the economics, the underlying mechanisms, and how these shifts actually alter our day-to-day reality.
I love that. And I want to jump straight into the absolute biggest stakes on the wire right now. We are witnessing a massive escalation in the AI arms race.
Oh, absolutely. It's moving so fast.
Right. And we are moving far beyond helpful chatbots that just rewrite your corporate emails. According to an update from Alex Albert, who's a researcher at Anthropic, their new Project Glasswing represents a historical turning point.
Yeah, we are looking at an unreleased frontier model called Claude Mythos Preview.
And the benchmarks are just staggering. I'm looking at a post from the handle at Cumanismus showing that Mythos Preview scored a massive 77.8% on the SWE Bench Pro coding benchmark.
Which, to an outsider, 77.8% sounds like, what, a C+?
Yeah, exactly. Why is the wire losing its mind over a C+?
Because SWE Bench isn't some high school multiple choice test. It doesn't ask the AI to write a simple Python script from scratch. It hands the AI a massive tangled web of real-world enterprise code.
Like thousands of files.
Thousands of interconnected files. And it says, hey, there is a complex multi-layered bug somewhere in here. Find it and fix it. A senior human engineer might take a week to track something like that down.
Wow.
And Mythos is doing it autonomously almost 80% of the time.
Uh.
But the real reason the wire is reacting the way it is comes down to what else it can do. This model specializes in autonomously finding and exploiting zero-day software vulnerabilities.
Across major systems, right, like Linux and open browsers.
Exactly.
And for anyone listening who might not be, deep in cybersecurity, a zero-day vulnerability isn't just a standard bug. It is a critical software flaw that no one, literally not even the software developers, knows exists yet.
Right, which means there is zero time to patch it before the AI can exploit it.
It is so powerful that, according to Polymarket, traders are currently pricing a mere 39% chance that Anthropic even releases it publicly by the end of June 2026.
They're locking it down.
Totally locking it down. They are letting Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft test it privately for defensive cybersecurity purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Anthropic is dedicating $100 million in compute credits just to this initiative.
Which brings up a fascinating narrative that we really need to scrutinize here.
Okay, let's hear.
Well, we are supposed to look at this lockdown and feel a sense of relief, right? The public story is that the model is too dangerous, too capable of enabling major cyber attacks, so we absolutely must keep it in the hands of the trusted tech giants.
Right, the safety narrative.
Exactly. But if you look at the second-order effects, you have to ask, is this genuine cybersecurity concern, or is it just regulatory capture disguised as safety?
Oh, I think I see where you're going with this. It's building an incredible moat.
It is the most brilliant marketing strategy in the world right now. You convince the regulators and the public that your AI is practically a munition, and suddenly you lock in the biggest enterprise whales on the planet as your exclusive, vetted clients.
And the pricing reflects that extreme exclusivity. For Mythos, we're talking $25 per million input tokens and an astronomical $125 per million output tokens.
Which is wild.
But hold on, what does that actually mean for the economics of AI? Because there has been this viral narrative going around that tech giants are bleeding cash, just spending astronomical sums to query these models.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up because that narrative is massively distorted. Let's look at the tech news show TBPN at TBPN on the Wire. A viral tweet recently claimed that Meta is spending $900 million a month on Anthropic.
That's insane. If you annualize that, it's roughly $10 billion in annual recurring revenue.
Right, and that number was derived from the fact that Meta used 60.2 trillion tokens over a 30-day period.
Which, I mean, that sounds completely plausible on the surface. 60 trillion is a massive number of tokens.
It sounds plausible until you actually understand the mechanics of how AI token pricing works under the hood. That $900 million figure assumes all of Meta's tokens were output tokens. Like the AI actively generated 60 trillion words. Right. But TBPN ran the actual math using OpenRouter data. In coding and agentic tasks, about 98.9% of the tokens used are input tokens, or, cached context.
Wait, explain that mechanism. Why is the ratio so skewed toward input?
Think about what the AI is actually doing when it codes. It isn't writing an entire application from scratch on every single prompt.
Right.
It is reading the existing code base over and over and over again to understand the context of what it needs to fix, and then generating maybe a few lines of new code. Reading context is computationally cheap. Generating new answers is what actually burns the expensive servers.
That is a massive aha moment. We keep thinking of AI as this generation machine, but fundamentally, it is becoming an advanced reading comprehension engine.
That is exactly the insight. When you adjust the math to reflect that 98.9% input ratio, Meta's actual spend is closer to $136 million a month.
Okay, that is still a massive amount of money.
It is, but it completely debunks the viral hype that enterprise AI revenue is single-handedly creating trillion-dollar cash flows overnight.
That underlying mechanic changes the whole perspective. But even if the current numbers are inflated, the future pricing models being proposed by the tech elite are just wild. Mark Andreessen at PMarkup posted a breakdown of where he sees artificial general intelligence pricing tiers heading.
Yeah, I saw this.
He outlined a consumer tier at $20 a month, a pro tier at $75,000 a year, an advanced tier at $350,000 a year, and then an exclusive tier at $10 billion.
I am struggling to even wrap my head around that. How do you justify a $10 billion price tag for software?
Because you aren't buying software anymore.
Yeah.
You are buying a sovereign capability. Think of it like the defense industry.
Okay.
You have commercial airlines that anyone can buy a ticket for, and then you have nation-states paying billions for an exclusive fleet of stealth fighter jets that gives them absolute air superiority.
Wow, that's a great analogy.
If an AI model acts as a multiplier for human productivity, and the best multiplier costs $10 billion, you are creating an unprecedented inequality of human capability.
Yeah.
However, Andreessen did add a caveat. He expects severe price compression over time.
Which brings up a fascinating contradiction. If the ceiling of software is $10 billion, developers are already looking for the basement. Which brings us to the tension between the developer gold rush and what The Wire is calling the local rebellion.
The local rebellion, right?
On the cloud side, OpenAI is pushing hard to keep developers locked in. Sam Altman at Sama just announced that OpenAI hit 3 million weekly users on Codex, their coding AI.
That's huge.
And to keep that momentum high, they are literally resetting usage limits for developers to celebrate.
They recognize the existential threat. They have to keep developers tethered to their ecosystem, especially with tools like Anthropic's Claude gaining massive ground.
And developers are moving incredibly fast on top of those cloud models. Look at the front-end innovations hitting the wire today. We have Cursor AI, at Cursor_A, releasing version 3 with a new design mode.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Instead of typing out complex text prompts to adjust a web page, you literally just click a user interface element in a live browser preview, type a quick annotation like expand this, and the AI generates the underlying code.
And then there's @ShadScanin, who just dropped a new command line tool. If you type npx ShadScanApply into your terminal, it instantly swaps the entire theme, colors, CSS, and fonts of your whole project in seconds.
In literally seconds.
But I want to introduce some friction here. Let's look at the mechanics of what's actually happening. That command line tool isn't magic. It is diving into the global CSS registry of a project and rapidly overriding hundreds of variables in milliseconds.
Yeah.
These tools are incredible for velocity, but there is a catch. They are still entirely dependent on the cloud. Every single time a developer clicks that UI to generate code, they are burning a cloud token.
Yeah, the meter is running.
Exactly. What happens when developers realize they don't need those massive, expensive data centers at all?
This is where the local rebellion comes in, and it is honestly my favorite story on The Wire right now. Look at the post from @Minchoi highlighting the open source Gemma 4 model. People are unlocking wild applications that run entirely offline.
Completely local.
We're talking about running real-time video analysis with object segmentation natively on a MacBook. No cloud required.
I watched that thread. They were tracking jet planes in a video, drawing bounding boxes around them in real time, completely disconnected from the internet.
But it wasn't just MacBooks. The thread showed people running offline large language models on iPhones at 40 tokens a second.
Which is incredibly fast.
They even got a functional LLM running on a Nintendo Switch at 1.5 tokens a second. How is that even physically possible? I mean, a Nintendo Switch is a console from 2017 with barely 4 gigabytes of RAM. How do you cram a massive AI model into that?
Through a process called quantization. You take the immense, high-precision neural weights of the AI model and you aggressively shrink them down, essentially rounding off the long decimal points.
Ah, okay.
It reduces the memory footprint drastically while keeping the core logic intact. It is basically a compressed zip file of human knowledge running on a handheld gaming console.
That's incredible.
And that mechanism completely undermines the $10 billion AGI tier model. If the open source community can engineer a model that runs for zero marginal cost on a 7-year-old console, the floor falls out from under the monopoly pricing strategy.
Right. While the back-end infrastructure is getting decentralized like that, the front end of the web is experiencing its own kind of chaos. I have to admit, I watched the video for this next WICG experimental HTML and Canvas API 3 times because my brain just couldn't process it.
It breaks your brain a little bit.
It really does. The developer Wes Bos at WesBoss showed off a Duck Hunt Toto app, and another developer at Measure_Plan posted a video of a user interface literally shattering.
It is visually stunning. But let's break down the mechanics of why this is such a profound shift for the internet.
Okay, think of the standard web, the document object model, or DOM, like a Lego set. Everything clicks into a specific rigid grid. You can't easily make a submit button explode into physical pieces that bounce around the screen.
Right, the web is rigid.
Exactly. A canvas, on the other hand, is like a blank pixel playground used for 2D and 3D video games, but historically you couldn't put functional HTML inside it. Now with this new API, you can. It's like taking a blowtorch to the Legos.
That's a good way to put it.
Suddenly, interactive HTML elements become fluid. You can render them inside the canvas and apply game engine physics to them. You can literally shoot your digital to-do list with a crosshair and watch the text shatter into fragments that bounce off the edges of your screen.
Which is exactly why I'm highly cynical about it.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, yes, taking a blowtorch to the Legos is a creative breakthrough for developers. But as a user, this is an accessibility nightmare.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Screen readers for visually impaired users rely on the rigid structure of that Lego grid to navigate a page. If buttons are exploding and floating around a 3D canvas governed by physics, that structure is gone.
Wow, yeah. That breaks everything for them.
And think about the ad tech implications. Advertisers could embed fully interactive, unblockable minigames seamlessly into the background canvas of a news article. It is a shiny new toy, sure, but the infrastructure implications are massive.
We are reaching a point where developers are literally shattering digital interfaces for fun, while venture capital throws billions at the fragments. But let's step away from the digital illusions for a moment and look at the physical reality that the tech world often completely ignores.
Let's do it.
There's a viral story on The Wire today from Sam Parr at the Sempar about his father's 25-year-old onion brokerage.
The contrast here is just beautiful.
It is the ultimate reality check. His father moves over $10 million a year in onions, and his tech stack, a phone, a fax machine, a physical file cabinet, and handwritten checks. He calls farmers, buys tangible truckloads of onions, organizes the heavy freight logistics, and sells them to Walmart. He has one employee, and they literally have a baby playpen in the office serving as daycare. It is a simple, resilient business moving physical goods. Now compare that to a post from the venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz at A16s.
Right.
They are backing Adam Neumann, the founder of WeWork, in his new residential real estate venture called Flow.
And here is where you really have to question the incentives of the market.
According to the Post, Adam Neumann's new chief technology officer had to pitch Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz on building Flow's tech architecture entirely from scratch. He was only 3 weeks into the job. After a 3-hour pitch, the VC titans just said, "We agree," and funded it.
I want you, the listener, to really consider the juxtaposition of those two realities.
Yeah, lay it out.
On one hand, you have a man coordinating physical trucks of produce. He operates on razor-thin margins. If a truck breaks down or the onions spoil in transit, he loses real money. His $10 million revenue is built on tangible logistics and physical reality.
Tangible stakes.
Exactly. On the other hand, you have Adam Newman, whose previous company famously burned billions of dollars in public capital, securing massive trust and funding for a purely conceptual architecture pitch in 3 hours.
Just a 3-hour pitch.
It begs the question, who is actually building a resilient, value-generating business, and who is just playing a high-level venture capital status game?
That is a harsh but very real critique of how capital is deployed at the highest levels. And speaking of the reality of wealth and status, we have a massive data point on the wire regarding economic realities in our cities.
Oh, the Mamdani story.
Yeah, the handle at the Chief Nerd highlighted a recent video from New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. The mayor addressed the city's massive racial wealth gap. The data he cited shows the median white household in the city has a wealth of around $277,000, while the median black household is at less than $19,000.
Those are stark numbers, and they are sparking a massive ideological debate on the wire today.
Let's lay out exactly what's happening in that thread, just impartially reporting the signals here. The mayor's stance is that the city is reckoning with a long history of racism, and to combat this, he is introducing a citywide racial equity plan.
Right.
His position is that equity must be placed right at the center of the city's framework to actively address and correct these historical imbalances.
But if you look at the reaction, the pushback from commenters is immediate and intense.
Wow.
They are entirely rejecting the mayor's framework.
Yeah, the replies are a totally different perspective.
Exactly. The counter-argument running through the thread rejects quotas, diversity initiatives, and affirmative action, claiming these approaches have failed. Instead, they argue that true economic success is driven by personal effort, individual responsibility, and skill building.
Interesting.
Yeah, essentially arguing that policies focusing on equity foster dependency rather than genuine opportunity.
We are seeing a complete clash of ideologies right there on the wire, happening in real time. But if you want to see the ultimate contrast to those numbers, to the daily struggle for median wealth, regardless of ideology, let's look at the ultra-elite. Trung Fan, at Trung Tae Fan, posted about the Augusta National Golf Club.
Oh, this is the definition of exclusive. They only have about 300 members worldwide.
The concentration of capital in that single club is almost unfathomable. The post notes that Warren Buffett is a member, but he's actually the highest handicap player there. His best ever score is an 89.
Not bad for Buffett, honestly.
Right. Another member, Bill Gates. And the story goes that Buffett once lost a $5,500 bet to Gates on the course because Gates hit a hole-in-one.
You kind of have to laugh at the sheer scale of the disconnect. I mean, we just spent the first half of this deep dive discussing the intense debate over whether developers can afford a $20 a month AI subscription just to keep their jobs relevant.
Yep.
And meanwhile, billionaires are making casual $5,000 bets on a private golf course. It really highlights how segmented our reality has become.
We view all of this reality, the technology, the culture, the wealth gaps, through a pane of glass in our pockets. But that glass and the hardware behind it might be hitting a physical wall. Which brings us to the physical frontiers.
The smartphone plateau.
Exactly. Marks Brownlee at MKBHD just did a massive camera test. He took the exact same photo using every single generation of the Samsung Galaxy S smartphone, from the original S1 all the way to the S26.
And what the visual data shows is that progress is completely nonlinear.
I totally assumed the S26 would be leagues better than the S25 and so on, but the video shows some older phones like the S10 actually processing the scene better than the S20.
Let me explain why that is happening.
Yeah.
It comes down to the physics of optics. We have reached a point where physical lenses cannot get much better inside a tiny smartphone chassis.
Right. There's only so much space.
You cannot defy the laws of physics with a sensor that small. So what do the tech companies do? They rely entirely on AI software to fake the progress. The new phones aren't actually capturing better light. They're running algorithms that guess what the photo should look like based on high dynamic range processing.
Wow.
We aren't taking better photos anymore. We are just generating better illusions.
Case in point, the official X account at X, posted a poll today asking if they should do a face reveal to promote their new AI-powered in-app photo editor.
Oh, the museum frames thing.
Yeah, the demo video shows users taking entirely generated images and placing them into custom digital museum frames, adding text like "hang it in the Louvre." It is purely algorithmic manipulation.
Which is exactly why it is so refreshing to look at a frontier that cannot rely on software illusions. When we talk about escaping the digital plateau, we have to look to space.
The ultimate physical frontier. NASA, at NASA, and Administrator Jared Isaacman at NASA Admin posted incredible updates about the Artemis II mission. The crew of 4 astronauts is currently returning from the far side of the moon.
It's the first crewed lunar flyby since Apollo.
NASA shared this amazing video of the crew floating in the Orion spacecraft, wearing solar eclipse glasses, just enjoying what they called moon joy
Right.
during a rare alignment of the sun, moon, and spacecraft.
Administrator Isaacman made a point to praise the massive human workforce behind this. You know, the engineers, the technicians, the recovery crews waiting for the splashdown off San Diego.
Okay.
And this is the crucial distinction we need to walk away with today.
What's that?
Unlike an AI generating tokens, or a web developer shattering an HTML canvas, sending humans around the moon requires real, uncompromising physical engineering. If there is a bug in the code here, it's not just a broken web page. It is life or death.
Wow, yeah.
It is a profound reminder of what humans can achieve when we engage with the unforgiving laws of physics instead of just manipulating pixels.
So let's synthesize all of this. Today's deep dive showed us a world caught in massive tension. We have Anthropic building cybersecurity models so powerful they cost $10 billion and are locked behind enterprise walls.
While at the exact same time, open source hackers are literally shrinking AI to run locally on old Nintendo Switches.
We have the hyper-financialized VC world funding conceptual tech architecture in 3 hours, contrasted against a guy moving $10 million of physical onions with a fax machine and a binder.
It is a tension between the digital illusions we are building and the physical reality that still anchors us, which leaves you, the listener, with a thought to mull over today. In a world where AI can autonomously hack major operating systems and software can fake any photo or generate any reality, well, will the ultimate status symbol of the next decade be the things that are entirely disconnected from the digital world?
That is a fascinating question.
Will true status be a physical binder of handwritten onion sales? Or, an unrecorded private golf bet at Augusta?
That is a sharp question, and based on the raw data we've tracked today, I'll leave you with a prediction for tomorrow. Expect to see a major open source collective announce a coordinated initiative to jailbreak local AI models specifically designed to counter Anthropic's massive enterprise paywalls.
The local rebellion is just getting started.
Keep your vibe sharp and your data clean. We'll see you on the wire tomorrow.